Board of Trustees. We don't have too voluminous of an agenda today, so we may do well. Item number 1 on our agenda, we already did that. We called to order. Item number 2, approval of the minutes. I hope everybody's had the chance to read the minutes. They have changes, etc. Now's the time to pipe up.
I move to approve.
Okay, so I've got a motion, I've got a second. Anybody else? Any discussion? Okay, if none, let's take a vote on approving the minutes from the March 21st, 2012 regular business meeting. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, thank you. Approve the minutes. Another thing I forgot to say, I think that we're getting streamed tonight, but we are also on Channel 11 tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Wow. Lucky number 11.
Lucky number 11. Well, that's interesting. See, let me get the spinach out of my teeth and all that good stuff. Well, thanks for doing that. And are you going to do that at all of our meetings? Or you're just testing? Okay, great. Super. Okay, let's move on to reports to the board. We'll start out with, and I thought that it was called SGA now, or that's next year.
Next year.
Oh, next year. Okay, then it is Associated Student Government. Alex Barker, please.
Okay, thank you. All right, so our committees are finishing up their last events for the year. We have 3 meetings left. Right now they're completing their community service that everybody is required to do. So they'll finish that up tomorrow at Fir Creek, along with other clubs and organizations. We are also participating in the Mud Run, which is on Saturday, which is held by Active Minds. So I encourage everyone to show up. It's a really good event. ASG is also participating in the Spring Fling Clean, which will be Monday. It was scheduled for this Tuesday, but because the weather didn't really work out. Our last meeting is on April 26th, and we are also planning a staff and faculty appreciation day on that day as well. And our big thing that we had just finished up is our elections for the 2012-2013 year. We had 37 applicants, and we had over 280 people who voted. And that's the most who voted on any online survey held through Eagle's Eye. So we accepted 14 senators, and we left the 5 remaining spots open for the next fall to be elected into there. We have also been meeting with Board Trustee Bill, who's been attending our meetings, and we've also been keeping Carol updated on what's been going on. So we appreciate your guys' support through that. We visited with Dr. Schaefer on Tuesday, along with our new senators. We had a packed room, so we got a really good conversation about different types of things, the PE facility, transportation, cycling, just a whole bunch of things that we hope to move forward with next year. And that's pretty much it. I want to thank the board and everybody who attended the SOAR banquet last night. It really meant a lot to all of us. I appreciate that. And that's all.
Okay. Thank you, Alex. Any questions for Alex or comments? Yes, Carol.
Would you like to tell them that this is your last meeting?
This is my last board meeting.
As the president.
Yes.
Okay. You can come anytime, Alex, if you know that.
She's leaving town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Alex. And really, you know, I do appreciate the participation at the SOAR banquet last night with everybody. And also tonight, too, we had, the trustees had dinner with, were they all senators? No, with all senators from the ASG. So we appreciated that. And I need to brush up on my Chinese because I need a second language. And they're getting on me. Okay, second report is College Counsel, Jody Wepner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Board of Trustees. At the study session, I gave you a quick update about the survey results and told you that College Counsel would be meeting or met last Friday to formulate an initial proposal. All of you should have had a copy of that on your that was attached to the re-upped agenda that Vicki sent out on Monday. Has everybody had a chance to read it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to stand up here and read it to you if everybody's had a chance to read it. So I would actually entertain any questions, comments.
Go ahead, Kevin. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Jody, the size of the committee was probably sort of a compromise among a number of constituencies. Do you just personally think that that's a workable size, or?
You know, I arguably it leans a little bit on the larger size, but I think in order to get the compromise of where we were hoping to go, that's what we needed to be at. There's still some discussion about whether or not the actual size of the vote will be 19 voting members. It could potentially be 21 because we may be looking at swapping a couple of the ex officio senior administrative members into voting positions per not a request, but some comments from President Schaefer about concerns about voting versus ex officio at that level, and the comparison of what's going to happen with what potentially would happen with President's cabinet. In addition, what you didn't see on the recommendation, but what everyone will probably see on the final proposal is that given the results of the survey, I think the final proposal we've been discussing and heading towards recommending that this body not be a decision-making body, but a strong recommending and advisory body that will then make a recommendation that either the final decision will have to be made by the president, or the final decision on some of these issues may have to come through the president to the Board of Trustees.
Right.
Yes, sir.
That was my question, are these true ex officios or surface ex officios? Because a true ex officio votes.
We were referring to ex officio as non-voting members on this group.
By Robert's Rules of Order, an ex officio does vote, unless by statute they
We
can't.
could classify them, could certainly classify them as ex officio non-voting. I will tell you that the current council has been hesitant to dictate too many of the nuts and bolts of what this group is going to do until this new group is together. We want them to be able to hopefully use the operating guidelines that we came up with a year and a half ago and move forward with those, but with the complete understanding that this group is going to need to develop probably their own operating guidelines and decisions on some of the real specifics about what's going to happen in the group.
Mr. Chairman, Trustee Kaiser, within the policy that we are working on for this group, it would designate them as ex officio non-voting, and that's where the distinction would be made within the charter, if you will, within that policy.
I just thought, since it didn't say that maybe they were using the word correctly.
I have a question. We'll get to Kevin. We really, at least scheduled out on here, have one spot for Albany County campus. What was the discussion on that, or was there any?
The idea was that since that position over at Albany County campus is being elevated to what I would refer to as senior administrative level associate vice president, that would be able to that spot would be able to cover the needs of the Albany County campus without having to, keeping in mind that the positions on this council are going to be open to everybody, whether they're Albany County or Laramie County, and someone from Albany County could be elected the same as someone from the Cheyenne campus.
Okay.
Couple of things that I want to note. We had some feedback from President Schaefer today. We discussed this with Faculty Senate last Friday as well, after we made the initial proposal, and they are tentatively on board with working with us and facilitating the elections to get the faculty members on the new group. We want to point out that we did not write into this that certainly Faculty Senate would be specifically designating one member from Faculty Senate, but that does not preclude Senate, people who were elected to Senate positions to throw their name in the hat and be nominated for an at-large position on this group as well. And if the faculty constituency sees fit to elect someone to the council who was already a senator, then that's faculty's choice. We're not going to say that it specifically has to be at large, outside of any of the representative bodies. Anyone who's a member of the constituent group is free to nominate any other member of the constituent group or throw their name in the ring on their own to be elected to those at-large seats.
Kevin, go ahead.
Just looking at the seats on this thing, this looks like President's Cabinet with a couple of extra seats in place. With a lot of extra?
Keeping
Looks
in
like,
mind
it looks
that
like it's about half President's Cabinet and half other people. Tell me, why is it then all that different from President's Cabinet?
Because I truly believe this group with the representation from all of the constituencies is going to be able to bring to the table a different discussion. I haven't sat in a lot of President's Cabinet meetings, so I can't really speak to what goes on there, but I think having groups from the different constituency levels being able to be at the table and discuss these things in the open, bringing the concerns of their own constituencies is going to give better representation to the constituencies as a whole.
Anybody else questions for Jody? Yes, Misty, go ahead.
I guess I just wanted to say something. I'm actually co-chair on College Council with Jody, and so I was actually there for the conversation last Friday, and I just wanted to comment something on Kevin's question and sort of piggyback on that is that I guess our understanding of how this group could potentially work is basically bringing the people who are to make decisions on the processes, procedures, how it affects the students, how it affects the ability for faculty to carry out their job, how it affects staff to be able to carry out their job. I think it connects the people who are in charge of making sure all of these different things work and ensuring that the communication is there, that when we're looking at things that affect the entire college, all aspects, all constituencies, that we have the information about how it works on every single level. And I think that just brings about more information and better ability to make educated choices. And so I think that it could be an asset. I guess that's one of the pros that it is potentially there.
And to add to that real quick, Kevin, one other thing that if you look at the makeup the way it's laid out right now, unless some specific changes are made, only 3 members of the current President's Cabinet would actually have a vote sitting at this table as a voting member of College Council rather than a non-voting ex officio member. The entire time we've discussed this, it's been very important to, particularly coming from President Schaefer, to include the members of the President's Cabinet at least sitting at this table, because a lot of the decisions that ostensibly will be made with this group are going to have to be carried out by, or overseen and carried out by members of President's Cabinet.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, thank you, Jody.
Okay. College Council is meeting again this Friday, at which point in time I fully suspect that we will be forwarding a final proposal to the President to be put into a format so that it can go to consultative feedback.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Our next report was ESSC. I did get a note that all their officers have student and other commitments tonight, but they did leave us with a minutes of their last meeting, so I will open it up if anybody has any questions on their minutes. They're sure welcome to ask. If not, we will move forward. Anyone? Okay, next report, Faculty Senate. Jeff Schmidl.
Thank you, Chair Thomas and Board of Trustees. You've got my minutes the last couple of meetings. I'll just talk about 4 things that we're working on. I don't know that one is more important than the other. Sorry, Greg, but they're all 4 important.
Good.
We're currently working on elections for new senators for those senators that are going off. Unfortunately, I'm losing Archie, so I'm kind of sad about that. But we'll get some other good people in there. And so we'll be doing elections the next couple of weeks and get some new senators on board for next year. We have sent out a excuse me, we sent out a survey to faculty to ask their opinion on the academic calendar, some of their preferences about start times and what kinds of in-service days we need, and some of the holidays and things like that, because that seems to be an issue that comes up every year about this time, and Faculty Senate just wants some input so that we know what, so we're speaking on behalf of faculty. So that survey is set to close Friday evening, and then we will discuss that in Senate and make recommendations about the calendar based on that survey. I've been in discussion with Dr. Schaefer a little bit about the Vice President of Academic Affairs position, and he has asked Senate to come up with a list of names of faculty to serve on that committee, that search committee, and so that's something we're going to talk about Friday, and hopefully make this very fast and get a committee together next week. So looking forward to that. And then we've been working on the faculty credentials policy, and I'll have to tell you that I'm pleased. I shared some of the concerns that faculty had about the faculty credentials policy with Dr. Schaefer. Dr. Schaefer has rewritten that policy. I think it's much improved, and I think that the faculty will be, I'm hoping they'll be okay with it. He has approved it in the President's Cabinet, and it will be sent out for consultative feedback, and so I think we're moving ahead on that. Questions?
Any questions for Jeff?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I had some conversations with some folks in other parts of the state, and there is this issue regarding credentials and primarily the high school, in talking about both concurrent and dual enrollment. I know we've had discussions in here before, but I'm wondering, as we move forward on this, there is a question out there that was presented to me that said, well, look, you might be okay to teach that college course, but a student's going to get high school credit for it, and you're not certified through the Professional Standards Board for high school credit. So is this issue being dealt with?
Well, I think it's being dealt with on our end. I don't know about the Professional Standards Board, but at least with concurrent enrollment, I don't know how we handle dual enrollment. That's a faculty on campus, so that person would have to adhere to the faculty credentials that we set forth, and I don't know how the Professional Standards Board works with that. But concurrent enrollment, one of the changes that Dr. Schaefer made that I'm pleased to say is that concurrent enrollment faculty have to adhere to the standards of other faculty, that they're treated as if they're an adjunct faculty, and I think that's something we've really been fighting for, so I'm happy to see that change.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, Trustee Mosher, it's an interesting conversation and something that I'm very familiar with in Montana, and I cringe a little bit about how far those conversations go in Montana after almost 8 years of conversation about that and failure to come to some type of agreement recognizing credentialing of individuals even though they exist in K-12 versus that actually led to a unique classification, a unique licensure. It's called a Class 8 licensure in Montana, specifically for college faculty teaching courses that also award high school credit. So these would be on-campus courses and predominantly online courses where you have high school students taking them for both college credit. It included the fingerprinting and many of the other things that go along with becoming certified or licensed to teach in an elementary or secondary environment. And I can tell you to this date that there is maybe one campus, maybe two, that have really embraced that and actually licensed their faculty. It is a heated debate, and it's a challenge, and I hope we don't go as far as creating another type of licensure, another licensure approval process. Rather, I hope that we recognize the credentials that we have for our faculty, and certainly by the level of the coursework that they are teaching, which will qualify them to cover content area below that, or at least equivalent.
Mr. Chair? I really appreciate the insights on that, because that is something that's been thrown around out there, and I just hope we're prepared for it.
And I think the biggest concern is what happens to is it pits educators against educators, and it forces individuals to say, fine, we will continue to teach college courses, high school will continue to teach high school courses, and the people that suffer are essentially the students, because they lose out on some dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment opportunities that should be there. Thank you.
Chair Thomas,
Yes, sir.
Mosier, I'd like to add one more thing that I just thought about. You're getting ready to go, I assume, to the commission meeting. The commission just come out with some faculty qualifications, sort of at the same time as we're doing our faculty credentials. And I forwarded them faculty qualifications to faculty at the request of Vice President Tigner. And so there was some confusion on campus about that. That the faculty qualifications, which were developed by the academic officers, are sort of minimum standards set by the commission. And that doesn't mean that we can't do better than that. And certainly our faculty credentials policy is at a higher level than faculty qualifications that are set by the commission. So if you get any input on that, that's the story behind that.
They may not,
Go ahead, John.
looking at the agenda, they're probably not gonna bring it up this time, but maybe in August, or at their retreat. I don't see it on this agenda.
Thank you. Questions?
Okay, any other questions for Jeff, Faculty Center? Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Our next report, LCCC Foundation, Tom Bradley.
Mr. Chairman, Board of Trustees, just a few things to go over, and one discussion item most certainly. I just want to report the Golden Apple applicants. We had 15 applicants, and we've taken care of that. 8 of them we accepted. Exciting ones that we read through, and very good items that we have that we presented the money to. Lifetime Heritage Banquet was this last Friday. We had over 200 people attend. The Kvaismans were honored at that, and most certainly the entire event was a compliment to the staff over there at the foundation and what they put on. Since our last meeting, I believe the Matching the Spirit money I reported, we had around $680 still left within that, and I'm happy to tell you that right now we're right around $550. Now that could change a little bit based upon what we're reading. That means we've seen about $130,000 coming in that is seen through the Matching the Spirit money. So very good things coming, and most certainly the donations continue, which is nice to see. I have a letter that I would like to submit, and basically this was set in motion, getting the Albany County campus bonds off the books for the LCCC Foundation and move to the LCCC Housing Authority. And so I'd like to get that just so we can get them moving, and that is on behalf of the LCCC Foundation board that I am submitting that, so that'll be taken a look at. Just one thing that I did want to discuss, though, that has come up in regards to the gymnasium floor. They're redoing the floor itself, and in doing it, I started thinking about the idea of a sponsoring or a leasing of the court itself. It would not be a naming right, it would not be perpetuity, it would be over a period of time. When we look at the gym floor, the gym itself, it's estimated it will be done again in about 10 years. So in order to do this, we looked at putting it in the Golden Eagle Scholarship Endowment, and therefore it could hit the match money. But that's only a 5-year pledge, even though this would be a 10-year period of time in which the name would be on there. And in doing so, any sort of events that took place there would be named as LCCC at such and such court. So the name would be there. The reason why I'm bringing this up now is because it does not fit within the guidelines of the naming rights of buildings, just because it's not the perpetuity aspect. And so the square footage, I'm not sure if it applies or how we could look at that, but that's one thing I wanted to bring up to you. The other reason why I'm bringing it up now is we've had some discussion about possible sponsorships. And what I mean by the sponsorship, I hope you all understand, it's the same concept of, it was Mile High at Invesco Field, and now it's Mile High at Sports Authority Field, and where it is a rotational aspect. And I like this concept because it brings money that isn't just one-time money. It is a lease, and then it's renewed, and we find new sponsors for it. But also we could see this on computer labs and other areas where we could benefit from it. And again, it's not as large a sum as it would be for naming rights, but it is something that would be repetitive where we could gain some money that we don't have now. So I wanted to bring that up to you.
Go ahead, John.
Greg, you may recall when we did start up athletics again, they got sponsors for both the scoreboard and the volleyball court. And that, as I recall it, we were just made aware of it. There was no board action needed. Do you recall?
No, I don't. Might be a
'Cause-
little before my time.
Well, I thought it was about 4 or 5, but
Oh,
maybe
okay.
not. But anyway, Coca-Cola had they essentially paid for both the scoreboard and the volleyball floor, which we don't use anymore, that I'm aware of, because it was in the multi-purpose room.
We have had 3 that have said no and declined to it. And don't get me wrong, it may not come to fruition, but it's something to think about for that. We did consider Coca-Cola, but we were concerned regarding the soft drink lease, and if that were to come up and they were to lose it during that 10-year period, how that could be conflicting if we had somebody else who get that lease. So these are the things that we want to consider, and I just wanted to bring it up because I'm not sure what the precedence is or the protocol in which we should follow on this, and I wanted to bring it up.
I'm going to look to you, Mr. President. Do you know anything about it, or
Well,
do we need to
Mr.
research it a little bit?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we've had some conversation about this, probably not as much as Tom and I need to have. But essentially what it boils down to is the naming rights and the naming process associated with your policy is pretty restrictive or pretty focused on facilities, on buildings themselves. There are other significant spaces within the LCCC campus that could have naming rights associated with them. In this case with the court floor, because it has a 10-year lifespan essentially before we do it, and if we're going to put the new logo down, we would want to put a sponsored logo down, it would be bound in some ways by the life of the court as a 10-year court. It doesn't fit directly with your policy, and I think what the foundation is looking for, do we need to address the policy issue, or because this is not specific to facilities and in perpetuity, can we proceed forward with having creative sponsorships of these significant spaces, or is this something that the board would like to have formal action and formal say in? Does that sound fair, Tom? I get
Well said.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I wanted to say
That's
something.
what I was going to
Bill, go ahead.
Well, and Lance just said to me, but I was already planning to say something. We did, shall I say, adjust the policy or whatever you want to say when we named J.O. Reed Way out in front for J.O. Reed. There was no financial thing. It was to honor him for his years of service on the board of directors, and he, of course, was the very first chairman. So I guess what I'm saying is there is precedent for doing things a little bit different, and I wouldn't think we'd need to have formal action on it. I'd say when something comes up, then we discuss it at that point, rather than trying to form a definite policy, because things are all quite different.
Sure.
And what might come up is different. Leave the policy as is, but just realize that adjustments can be made through a vote.
So,
That
Mr.
would be my suggestion.
Chairman, Trustee Boyce, just for clarification, so we could proceed with seeking a sponsorship that would span that time frame, but you would like us at that time, should one come forward, to actually come to the board and ask for your approval of that?
I think that'd be the best, because it's a break from, but I don't see any reason to change the whole policy, because then it gets complicated and complex, and then there's always these different things. But I just don't see any reason why you couldn't do that, Tom, and just move forward on
Okay.
And then
it myself. And then if something comes up and we have it, then you could just come to us or through email or whatever. Well, I guess you can't do it through email, but you could bring it to a meeting and say, what do you think?
Gotta cringe out of that
would you
one.
as a board then be comfortable if questions arise? I mean, where I see the questions arising is $500 in a year, $5,000 in 5 years, you know, there's a threshold there where we might move. Are you comfortable as a board with me having that conversation with the chairman? And if the chairman feels that it does need to come forward for formal action or approval because of the magnitude or the scope or the impact, in letting that decision process take place and not changing policy? Because that's sort of what I'm hearing.
Well, that's the way I feel. I don't know how the others.
And I mean, I think that would,
Anybody else? This is new to me, so I haven't thought about it very hard.
I think Bill's suggestion is fine.
Yeah.
You set a policy in stone, and the first thing you know, we'll be discussing changing it one more time. So we don't really know what we're talking about at this point.
Yeah.
So let's let you
I
proceed.
think
bring
that-
bring some proposal.
Yeah, I think, Joe, your suggestion, I do think that we do need to be made aware, because
Oh,
we
yeah.
just don't know if there's a problem out there, if it's some sponsor that we think there's a problem, so maybe, even though it may not be in policy, you probably should look for our blessing on a sponsorship.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I agree.
but you are open to the concept.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
We will proceed.
Sounds good.
Sure.
That's
Okay.
all I have.
Any questions for Tom?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I realize you're on the floor, but I'm trying to envision too the idea that is there a potential, and would it be like the Union Pacific room? Would you perhaps have any kind of entry into the court?
We have a lot of different things that we can use. We obviously have the wall space that we wanted to use more effectively than it has been to sell more. So that has been discussed. The floor itself would be different because of, as I mentioned before, any sort of event that takes place, it would be labeled as at such and such court.
I think just coming to the board that's fine with me.
Carol, go ahead.
I was wondering, I haven't been in the gym lately. Are there banners that hang in the gym on the walls?
There
Tell
are.
me about that.
There are. The banners, and we're looking at those too, because the banners are actually behind the stands themselves, so they don't get much visibility in regards to it. So we were looking at maybe readjusting that for visibility, and of course that would be based upon costs for the sponsors themselves. This one would be directly in the floor, and again, couldn't
Embedded
be
in the
touched
floor.
until we redid the floor in 10 years.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. Okay. And I don't know if those ladies are here today.
And
It's right here.
Oh my gosh, they are.
Sitting right here.
Then our
2 feet away.
last report is from the LCCC Education Association, and Ann, I believe, is going to talk to us.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, Board of Trustees. The EA President, Nancy Cornish, and I met with Dr. Schaefer today. Trina Kilty was at a conference and unable to attend. We discussed several issues that were concerned to the faculty and staff. Dr. Schaefer was aware of these issues, and we were able to offer a little insight and a different perspective on some of these issues. And then he, in turn, had some excellent suggestions for us in dealing with some of these concerns. So does anyone have any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, short and sweet.
That's how good we were. These
These are sort of mysterious
concerns.
Well, you just don't know. It's
Okay. All right, I will offer up any public comment on any of the reports that we've had. If there is any public comment, we're sure welcome, or you're sure welcome to make it. If not, we're going to march forward. Okay. Next topic is President's reports, and we've got various. So, Dr. Schaefer.
Thank you,
You
Mr.
have the
Chairman,
floor.
members of the board. I do not want to stand in the way of a birthday girl's fun with her father, so I will try to move through these as expeditiously as I possibly can. The first item is just awareness, and this is something that I will try to do as the timing allows. Just making you aware of a pending Wyoming Community College Commission meeting. It will be taking place in Rock Springs, actually, with festivities starting on Thursday. Trustee Kaiser and Trustee Mosier will be going over there for the WACCT meeting, as well as participating in the commission's meetings. I do want to bring up one point and just make you aware of. At this meeting, the commission will be considering changes to its rules. And I believe you are all familiar with the rules that the commission is required to establish and promulgate. They have various impacts on the community colleges. There are 9 of them that will be up for edits. The vice presidents, the financial officers, academic officers, student affair officers have all been working with the commission on the majority of the rule changes, and I would say for 8 of them, we've come to consensus where there really isn't a whole lot of concern. The one where there still seems to be some concern or question, and it's predominantly advanced by the President's Council and Administrative Services Council, is dealing with Chapter 5 of the Commission's rules. And Chapter 5 deals with the funding formula, deals with capital construction. And those are the 2 where there are still some areas that I think the campuses collectively have some concerns, and I want to just run you through this real quick. As you know, part of the funding allocation in the coming year will be 10% of it will be allocated based off of student success as defined by completion in courses. And the way the language and the modeling of that distribution suggests is that we benchmark course completions by the National Community College Benchmarking Project, a survey of many community colleges across the nation, and set for a threshold or a benchmark of 150% of the median value. Does that sound right, Carol? Am I going there correctly? The struggle with it is that the way the model is currently set up and proposed, if every single community college in Wyoming is above that threshold, campuses may still lose money because the money starts to then be cannibalizing against those campuses. What it will do at that point is actually pull money to those that are only slightly over that benchmark to those that are much over that benchmark. And I think the position of the commission is simply this: we want to strive for excellence. There will come a point where we could essentially all be at 98% or almost perfect completion rates, and campuses would still lose a portion of that 10%. So it's a reallocated 10% based on this metric, and that ultimately will be impossible to ever make it balance out perfectly for all of the campuses. So we continually reallocate it. At this point, we haven't discussed or even given an alternative to it. I think it's a first step in what we'll probably see down the road as many attempts at trying to get performance-based funding established for the community colleges in Wyoming. The second area deals with major maintenance, and I think I've had conversations with a few of you, but there are 2 points right now. The way the commission staff and these rules interpret the legislative, the statutes, the state statutes, right now major maintenance would not be eligible for leased properties, for properties owned by building authorities, or for properties owned by foundations. And that's an area that we struggle with because we have building authorities that are mechanisms for financing construction. There are many leases to foundations, to other organizations, yet those are campus facilities. And there's a concern about whether or not those major maintenance funds could actually come to those facilities. You know, we believe that they're campus facilities on the campus, and if we can find an affordable way or an efficient way to actually build them, we should still be able to apply major maintenance funds to those because we are adding those to state facilities or district facilities down the road. The other one then is something that I believe was associated with Governor Freudenthal, and that was his stipulation or interpretation, if I understand this correctly, that major maintenance funds could not be used on residence halls. And right now, the commission and the Administrative Services Council has asked for an Attorney General's reading on that to say, was that session law or is that actually statute? You know, was that simply bound by the terms of that governor and part of that session, or is that actually in statute? So I don't know how that will come out, but it is an interesting conversation, a component of it. And then the remainder of the concerns deal with the capital construction himself. This process is intended to create a pipeline of projects for the commission and for the legislature to consider and to actually move through this pipeline. Right now, it is limited to 1 project for each campus in any one session. And then assuming that they would all go forward, in best case scenario, you're gonna have 7 priority projects every session. And I don't know that the legislature will be able to swallow every session, which means you will start to have a backlog in that pipeline of priorities. So even though we may have 5 priorities, and if we're allowed 1 every session and it doesn't go through.
You used the word campuses. Did you mean colleges?
Colleges, yes.
Because there are numerous, because in this past one, CWC had 2 campuses, 2 buildings.
Correct. This is per college. Thanks for the clarification.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, this is, as I understand it, this is per college, correct, Carol?
Didn't want them to change that rule.
So from an efficiency standpoint of managing the pipeline, I can understand it, but yet it does limit our ability to move facility projects through there. High emphasis on instruction space and concern about that. If a building is allocated or designed for student services, will that effectively be able to move through the capital construction model? And then there is language in there right now that states that for any projects moving through this that would go to the state for funding, 50% of the project funding has to come from local funds. And having that set in stone specific number in there has some of the colleges worried. You know, what happens if you're at 49%? Yeah. And so those are things I think we can work out, but they're an area that we have not come to any reconciliation or consensus on. It'll be interesting to hear and be part of the conversation this week, but this is a big deal for us in the way we manage campus expansion, facilities, funding, and many of the things that are associated with that. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of it. And I'm happy to pause there for any questions, if there are any.
Any questions, Joe?
Okay. Keep going. I wanted to share with you briefly, a few meetings back, I shared with you a proposed campus reorganization that has been sent out to the campus and has been part of numerous conversations that I've been having with individuals, divisions, units, and the groups on campus. Since I first presented that to you and distributed it to the campus, I've met with most of the divisions, many of the constituent group representatives, with individuals and with numerous other folks around the reorganization itself. And as I proposed it and as we're working through it, it would be a multi-phase reorganization. Really the ones that had detail was associated with phase 1. So I thought what I would do is just sort of give you an update on where we are at with the reorganization, those things that really I've seen or heard no concern about that we will move forward with, and then some that we're still working with. So on this document, I'll just walk through them real quick. These aren't any big surprises. Number 1, we'll keep the Vice President of Student Services position and advertise it. I'll be talking about that. We're on our way. That'll be my next report. We're going to retitle 3 positions. The Director of Public Relations, the Director of Human Resources, and then the Dean of the Albany County Campus will be retitled, the first 2 to Executive Directors, and then the Albany County Campus Dean will become an Associate Vice President of the Albany County Campus and move that to reporting function. I've heard nothing but positive support for those, so the plan is to have those actually turned with the start of the fiscal year on July 1. We are working on the integration over this year of the workforce area and instruction and bringing instructional programs under that one roof. That'll be taking place over this next year. We'll be doing a search for a Vice President of Academic Affairs, and we will no longer have a Vice President of Instruction as of July 1. That's moving along, and again, I'll update you on that in a second. As you know, we've eliminated the position of General Counsel on the campus. We've eliminated the International Student Services Coordinator in the program and have started to integrate international student support and programs into the other student services on campus. The merger of health sciences, natural science, and mathematics was essentially put on this reorganization plan because we've had a long-standing vacancy in health sciences, and I can tell you that I've received significant feedback, very constructive and good insight from people within the divisions that would be impacted by that. I met with the health sciences division yesterday. I've met with the science faculty, and I've met with many others about that. That decision is just simply going to take more time. I had some wise counsel from my faculty senate colleagues suggesting that we focus on the vice president positions, find a way to get through without addressing the merger of those academic divisions. And at this point, we'll continue to do just that. We'll focus on the vice president searches and continue to collect information and feedback on the organizational structure and work on that over the course of the year. And then the last two are just starting to make the investments in the areas that we believe are necessary and I believe are your priorities, instruction and getting human resources things addressed. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to give you all an update and make sure you knew that we are still moving on that and we are still having conversations and we are getting some things done with the reorganization.
Any questions on that topic from anyone? Dr. Schaefer?
Great.
Okay.
And I will move on, just a brief update. We have brought on a consultant, a search consultant, to help us with the searches for the 2 vice president positions. The Poly Group Incorporated has been signed. We'll be working with its president, Angela Provart. Looking forward to that. We are well on our way to getting both the vice president of student services and the vice president of academic affairs moving along. We are going to try to run these searches in tandem and try to accelerate the search process. Right now, the timeline has us starting now, and we have been working on this since last week, and have the student services position finalized sometime in mid to late July, and the academic affairs position finalized, hopefully, by mid to late August. We recognize that the academic affairs position may be more of a challenge to get completed by that timeline, but we're moving away. One of the first things we'll be doing, and where I would ask your help, Mr. Chairman, is forming the search committees. And we have started putting those search committees together. I would like to see Board of Trustees involvement in this process, and so I am going to ask you to help me with ensuring we have at least one trustee on each of those committees. Now, for the rest of the trustees, know that when we bring our finalists in, we will set up opportunities for the trustees to actually interact with the finalist candidates, either through a dinner, a meeting, or a lunch. But you will have the opportunity to get to know the candidates, the finalists, and provide feedback to me on thoughts about those different candidates. But I would like to have one trustee on the Vice President of Student Services Committee and one trustee on the Vice President of Academic Affairs Committee.
So you put me on the spot.
Basically.
Okay, well, you chatted with me about it a little bit, and I chatted with some folks. I do want to emphasize the fact that I don't recall ever being invited to even meet any of these folks.
Oh, yeah.
Very often.
We had dinner when we hired Carol. We had dinner with
That is
the
true.
candidates.
We did that, but it wasn't a normal thing to do, and I think that it ought to be something that is done for all those types of positions. So I appreciate that kind of an opportunity. Want to know that everybody will have the opportunity to meet these folks, etc., and give input. I've chatted with Carol about working with the Vice President of Student Services. She said she would be happy to do that, so I would like you to take that on.
Thank you.
And Ed, I know that you chatted a little bit about the academic affairs VP, and if you could take that on, I would appreciate that.
Okay.
And if anybody feels really, really left out, talk to me and we'll work something out. But I do think that it's good to have them on, and that the fact that everybody's going to have some input is very helpful. So
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. Last item here that I just want to bring out in, you've all received a draft RFP, request for proposals for legal services. As we discussed at your previous meeting, we will be putting out an RFP and securing legal services for the college. So it's slightly different than what we've done in the past, because the college employed its own general counsel, and you had an agreement with the firm specifically for board counsel. This counsel would be intended to support the college, the board, the president, and through me, individuals on the campus. And so we have created that draft RFP. I've received feedback from Trustee Little. Would ask that if you have feedback or thoughts on the RFP draft itself to provide that to me, hopefully by the end of next week, if at all possible. The other piece that's associated with this is we form committees to review proposals that come in as a part of the RFPs. I've asked Vice President Hoagland, Peggy Kresselhotz, and to join me on that committee And I would like to ask that we have at least 2 members, 2 trustees also serve on that screening committee for the
Okay,
RFP.
and again, we chatted about this, and I chose myself as one of those, because I'm interested in that, and then I also would like to have Brenda do that, since she has probably had the most experience with council here in the last 2-3 years. Again, it is an exercise where all of the input will come back to the board, and obviously we have to make the vote on that, so that's what we'll do with that. So.
Wonderful.
What's our timing on that, Joe?
That is a good question. I don't know necessarily. I know that the current contract is done as of June 30, correct?
Yep.
Fiscal year. So
It is.
we have a little bit of time. But my guess is most of the action around this will probably take place after commencement, after May 5th. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Kevin, go ahead.
The one question I have is sort of outside the scope of these reports a little bit, but I've asked you about the college auditors. And
Yes.
this is another group in which probably we should go out for bid every now and then. And it's been, I don't know, we've used the auditors we have now for a long time. Has that been the result of any bid process in the recent past?
We did an RFP, because before the current, there was Muirhead and whatever. Out of, yeah,
And how many years have we been using
McGee.
McGee Hearn without going out on bid?
Yeah, I kind of sent you an email on this, and maybe you can help clarify, Carol. How long do we hire auditors for? Because typically you'll hire them for a number of years. 3, I don't know.
I think it's 5. I don't
5
know
years,
for sure,
okay.
but I'll check that and get back with you on it.
Okay, and we don't, so we just, one is we don't know the cycle that we're in with the current folks.
Right. We use
And
them
it
as
is
a
probably a good conversation to have, Kevin,
Nobody else.
to do that. Would you mind kind of looking that up, see how long McGee, Hearn and Pies has been on this current contract, maybe push it out to the board members? Just, you know, we're in a 5-year deal with them, and we're in the 3rd or the 4th or the 5th. And then I would think that we make a move depending upon the timing. Kevin, is that reasonable?
I just wanted to know something about it, because if you remember, last year at this time, we were advised by the college council, Tony, that this is something that we should do quite often. And he was
Well,
suggesting every other year or something.
Well,
like that.
I understand what Tony's saying, and having been an auditor myself and involved in some type of what we call or what is it, 130 Yellow Book type auditing.
133.
There's some philosophy and strategy on how you do that. But let's get the information on where we are with McGee, Hearn and Pies, where we are on the cycle, and can we just put that on the agenda for our next meeting to make sure that we get that addressed?
Do you want it as a study session,
Um,
Mr. Chairman?
Sure, why not? I mean, there's no reason to wait.
You bet.
That we can talk about that, so. Okay, I will open it up to any public comment on the president's reports. If anybody has anything they'd like to add, subtract, divide, no. On president's reports, I'm happy to hear you. If none, let's move forward with board reports. And I'll start out with the Finance and Facilities Committee. I don't know which gentleman wants to take the lead here, but Kevin will.
Ed, I'll go ahead and start. We'll make it very short and sweet so you can get to the birthday party.
Thank you.
That's the goal of the evening, I guess. We had a meeting yesterday morning. We had a really much too ambitious an agenda, and we didn't get through all of it. We did look at, in particular, in addition to review of the monthly financial statements, for which there's really no significant changes from prior months. We looked at CDC projected costs for 2012, 2013. They're going to have to be covered by the college. We talked about the budget for the LCCC Foundation. We talked about facilities for the new diesel instructor. We talked a little bit about facilities plan, and we got some clarification on the land that the college leases, has a long lease on west of town. Some procedure for oversight on supply budgets, and an update on progress for some detailed figures that Ed and I had asked for specifically. We didn't come to an agreement on all of these things, but we're making progress. Period.
Only thing I would add, Mr. Chair, is that we did once again have some discussion about process, and I think we're progressing on that.
Okay.
Progressing on progress.
Yes.
Progressing on progress.
Process. Progressing on process. I know that's a PP, but.
Okay.
Any questions of Kevin, Dan, or Ed? Yes, ma'am.
I just don't know what land you're talking about west of town. Please clarify that.
It is some land that we essentially lease, isn't that right, Carol? From BLM. And
That's correct.
we have some educational facility up there. Is this where, maybe somebody can clarify this, I've been trying to think of what activities actually take place up there, and Trent Morrill goes up and has a GPS field exercise, and that area, that property is probably involved in that, I think. But I don't know who else on the campus is using it, but I was surprised to learn that we have a few improvements up there, and we have to maintain those as part of our lease. And some things like that, and it is the size escapes me here. I got it someplace, but it's like 2/3 of a section or something like that. What's this?
We have half, and the school district has the other half.
So the school district participates in that with us?
Well, they have the other half section.
I see. Well, at any rate, that's the property we're talking about.
West of town means what?
Well, if you want a legal description,
This
I've got
side
one
of
in here
Beaver.
someplace,
No,
but
I
it's
mean,
it's near Kurt Gowdy State Park. Is
Okay,
where
great.
it
Thank you.
basically is.
That's what I wanted.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Board report number 2, college communications and
Oh, Greg,
relations.
I'm sorry, I
Oh,
did have.
go ahead.
You brought up the facilities for the diesel technology. Where are we looking at for this new instructor?
What we're looking at the present time is running extra classes. This would be weekends and nights and so forth to fill a demand there.
So the same
so that we can just
facility.
basically use the same facility.
Okay.
Because we just don't, as you know, we just don't have the additional space.
And I just want to make sure that at one point there was suggestion of using a vacated building east of here, and I was hoping we weren't going there.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
In addition to that, we had some discussion about projects that students have and what to do with them. And it was clarified that we can use kind of a pod system, if you would, trailer system for some of those projects, so that students do have the ability to, that you don't have to move stuff out for night and day and weekend and some of that stuff.
Okay.
So they have a plan to coordinate that so that you can facilitate 2 instructors there, which would benefit that waiting list of students that would like to get into the program.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, if none, let's go on to the next report. College Communications and Relations Committee.
Well, I just would, Alex already mentioned that I've been at some of the student senate meetings, 3 of them, and Carol's been to some. And it's very interesting to be involved with that part of the campus and so on. Of course, that's going to come to an end pretty soon, but for the summer and all that. But Jeff, I'd like to say too that you and Jody, especially if you ever want us to come to any of your meetings for any reason, just to sit in and listen to what's going on, not to in any way, you know, try to be a part of it or anything. Both of us would be happy to be involved, because what we're trying to do is, you know, create a better relationship, and it's already good, we know that, but just, you know, between the two. So if you ever want us there, please let us know.
Okay.
Chairman Hannah?
Yeah.
I agree with Bill. I think this relationship with ASG, soon to be another name, has been incredibly great, and it's been a lot of fun for me to get to know so many students. I'm still working on the trustee scholarship. I've been in touch with Brenda, and I think I'll go ahead and get the paperwork signed. I think Greg pretty much gave me permission to do that, to go ahead and get it going so that we'll have it in the works. Thank you.
And I guess, and you and I have discussed it, it really is just a voluntary thing. It's something that's out there.
Optional.
Optional, voluntary.
Yep.
Optional thing, and it's something that's out there and so on, so hopefully we can get that addressed. Yes, John?
I've forgotten about that. I was looking at my statements from the foundation, and to be perfectly honest, I'm more than comfortable with where I'm at with both mine and my wife's scholarship plans. So that's where I'm going to stand.
It's optional.
Yep. Okay.
And the reason I think that it is very important, and I believe that Brenda Laird will be coming to our meeting soon to make an appeal from the podium about getting all of the campus involved, 100% of the campus involved in giving towards scholarship. And so that's part of the reason I wanted to have a trustee scholarship. And it'll be something that'll go on over time if we get it endowed, which I'm thinking is going to happen in this next month. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, any questions of the Communications and Relations Committee? Okay, if none, let's move on to the Governance Committee. And
guess I need to
we're
ask.
Missing one. So we got
yeah, I forget. Did Brendan mention anything on our Government Leadership Institute at the study session? Since we traded not absenteeism.
I don't believe so.
Okay. Brenda and myself and Joe attended the ACCT Government Leadership Institute, and our initial plan to go there was to try and find other possible governance methods, and overall, unfortunately for us, the three of us, it primarily was an orientation session, probably similar to what you and Ed went to in DC, and probably more in depth than that since I was just new trustee. And I'm sure we gleaned some stuff from it, but not what we initially went for. So I don't think we've gone any further with the College Brain Trust unless you've initiated anything new since last month.
No, Mr. Chairman, Trustee Kaiser, the same retreat set for May 12th. We'll have Dr. George Boggs and Dr. Cinder Smith on site here to help us get started on this process.
So that's where we're at.
It's rapidly approaching.
Unless you want me to do WACCT too.
3.5 weeks. Okay, anything else? Any questions for John and or Dr. Schaefer, since he's very involved in the Governance Committee? If there are none, I will open the floor up to any public comment on any of the board reports. And if there are none, we will march forward. Okay, item number 6, we do have an approval item, and I guess it's Carol, right?
Thank you, Trustee Thomas and members of the board. This is an annual event that we need to do. We ask the banks to provide resolutions to us so that we can do business with them. They agree to pledge and protect our funds, and we'll be doing this every year about this time. So, any questions?
No, we choose that.
So we have the
Banks not on the list?
the list.
No, there's not.
That's what I thought.
Any questions of Carol? I'm looking at the list and I don't have any questions. But we do need to take some action on it. So anybody have a motion to
I make a motion
approve
that
the list?
we approve the list.
Okay, so I have a motion.
Second.
Second from Ed. Any discussion?
Just
Go ahead, Ed.
is there even distribution? Or is it intended to be that way or not?
No, there's not even distribution, but if we don't have them on this list, we can't do business with them. And there are banks that have chosen to not respond or say they are not interested. There's more banks.
Interesting. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? discussion? If none, oh, go ahead,
Just a
Kevin.
question. How much money are we depositing with these banks? Are these CDs? Are
We
they-
have some CDs, we have a lot in the checking account, but at any one time, we can have as much as 13 to 17 million, depending upon the time of the year.
And so what sort of protection? This is pretty liquid assets. What sort of protection do we have?
They have to insure at a rate higher than 100% to protect it by FDIC. And we are talking about trying to maximize the amount of interest that we can earn because it's pretty small right now. And I think there's better ways that we can do that. And so we'll be working with the banks to do something probably not much more than a money market because it does need to remain liquid enough to us that we can get to it, but something beyond the CDs that we currently are doing.
So you mentioned a demand account. Is that principally at one bank, or are there demand accounts virtually at all of these banks?
No, there's not demand accounts at all banks. We have, and I'm escaping me right now.
American National.
Right, the name
That's the
changed.
principal one.
AD Bank. I think is what it's called.
Oh yeah, they changed their name. A and B Bank.
Right.
And that's who has our banking services with our current CDs.
Okay. Thank you. No more
Okay.
questions.
Any more discussion? If none, let's go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor of approving the list, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, I guess number 7 is on there just to let us know that if this happens, it happens in October. Okay. Some additional items that are for information only. We do have a list of our contracting and procurement. I will take questions here when I get through the list here. Dinner session summary, study session. And then I do have some board correspondence, and I actually will kind of go through those very, very quickly. As you recall, and I think it was our last meeting, we had a variety of parents come from that had kids in the CDC program. And we got a little note, and is this lady a doctor? No. I have a hard time reading it, but I'm going to read it the best that I can. Dr. Schaefer and Board of Trustees, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you at the board meeting this week. We're so fortunate to have such dedicated individuals who are interested not only with the educational opportunities for our current students, but also interested in building a legacy for the future generations. Thank you, Carrie.
And Stephanie.
And Stephanie. Oh, okay. Stephanie signed her name differently. No wonder it looked different. Well, thanks. I appreciate the note on that. The National Council for Marketing and Public Relations sent us a letter thanking us for having Lisa Murphy and Josh Fling, did I pronounce that right?
Fine.
Fine. Okay. As presenters at their 2012 national conference. So we appreciate their efforts, and I think that was the one where we won some awards. So another letter from, let's see, you got me goofed up here. It says Nicole Bryant on here, but this letter says it's from Jane Barnes.
It's it's complimenting Nicole.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Let me read this to you real quick because I think these are nice letters to get. It was written to Dr. Schaefer. I'm writing to show my gratitude and admiration for the following instructor, Nicole Bryant. I'm taking her class English 0700, which is Fundamental of English. Instructor Bryant is an amazing teacher. She brings life to the class with her enthusiasm and creative way of getting us all excited about learning how to write at college level. I'll skip through a little bit of the pieces. She says she's an older returning student, was very nervous about returning to school, and that Instructor Bryant has made her feel very much at ease and appreciates her patience and dedication. So it's a great letter to get. So congratulations to Nicole Bryant. I don't know, is she here? We can put it on the record, Nicole. Thank you very much for your efforts. And then lastly, we have a letter, the AAWCC, American Association of Women in Community Colleges, sent us a letter to congratulate Misty Hopper Did you know this? Oh, okay. As one of 7 community college students to be awarded the 2012-2013 Regional Scholarship. So, Misty, great job. And these folks, did you meet these folks, or?
There's a local chapter.
Oh, okay. Well, great. Well, we appreciate your efforts, and we appreciate them saying thanks to us for having you around.
And I appreciate it all.
Okay. Okay, and then lastly, we do have our historical list of board motions for people to take a look at. Are there any questions on this information? I will say, if you do have detailed questions, go to the right people. Carol can handle some, and so on. So, let me kind of run through some meetings and events, because we are coming down to the end of the year. I forgot when graduation was during the middle of the day today, and I'm just panicking. So, I want to make sure everybody knows, including myself. We do have the WCC. We have the commission meeting here this week. Our study session will be May 2nd, and then we have a variety of things going on that week of, looks like April 30th, right? Sage Trio graduation, physical therapist, and then our normal, I guess I won't call it normal, but the large graduation ceremony on May 5th. There'll be GED, and do we have people set up for the GED? They usually try to get some trustees.
I'll be there.
Thank you. It's an open invitation, so.
Okay. The nurses pinning, and we've all gotten a note on that, and then the actual regular commencement ceremony at the Civic Center, 7 p.m. And then again, as Dr. Schaefer noted, we have May 12th, we have a governance workshop for a good part of the day on a Saturday, and then our next business meeting will be May 16th. So that's what's going on. I'll kind of open up the...
Chairman Thomas,
yes,
would you
ma'am.
please mention the May 23rd date too, when you'll be in Laramie?
Oh, yes, that's new. Okay, May 23rd, and then are we requesting all the board members to be there? Okay, they are requesting.
We've done it before.
They had, yeah, we've done it.
We did it
The
last
last
year.
couple, 3 years. The Albany County Campus, there we go. Advisory Board has requested that we meet with them, and we kind of requested that we would do that. One thing that we haven't done with them is go through our master plan, and we may even have a little bit more information on them on some things that are occurring over in Albany County. So it looks like we're going to meet with them over at the Hilton Garden Inn at 6 p.m., and I'm sure you'll hear more about that. So. Okay, any other? I'll open it up to anyone else. Go ahead, John.
There isn't a study session for June on here. Is that
Oh, should be.
because?
Oops.
6th.
Well, that's why I wanted to ask, is because WACCT and the commission and the presidents are having a meeting.
It's on this part of the calendar, John.
Well, I was looking online. It's blank online.
When we looked at the end of the minutes, it wasn't on there.
Oh, okay. It is on that
Yeah.
the calendar events.
Okay.
But that same day, at least for now, well, I don't think we've finalized the exact date, but that was the date chosen by the organizing committee, which I sit on. And what it is it's a meeting to, Jim Rose has titled it the Peace Summit. And the request is to get as many of the 49 trustees there as possible. And it will be in Casper.
And so where is this meeting?
It will be in Casper, and it will start, it's a one-day meeting, and it'll be a facilitated meeting. And as mostly over the things that Joe mentioned during his report, as far as the rules and CapCon and
Okay.
so, I mean, we could probably will finish about 3 o'clock. From 9 to 3 right now. But whether we want to hurry back to have a board meeting.
Boy.
You're talking about the 20th of June?
No,
the 6th.
6th of June.
6th of June.
June 6th.
Well, I think what we need to do is we'll find out who would be able to attend that meeting. I really
I know Ed and I have both responded, but since we sit on the board,
Right.
we've
We
already-
have so many projects going on, I have a real tough time skipping a meeting, quite frankly.
Well, I wasn't asking to skip it, but to reschedule
No,
it.
but yeah. So you're requesting that we may possibly reschedule that to what? The next day, the day before?
The next Wednesday?
Well, I'll be
Next
out of town
Wednesday?
the next Wednesday,
The next
personally,
Wednesday?
but I want to move it to Monday or Tuesday.
We can still meet when you're gone.
I know it. I'm just commenting.
Thank you for bringing that up. We'll go ahead and work on that and see what we can do to reschedule that. and
Okay.
Get it working.
Yeah, I, you know, for me, just pop some dates out to me and I'll try to slot them in.
And again, that's not set in stone yet.
Okay.
He's still negotiating with the facilitator and the other people that were
Well, as soon
invited.
as you know about that, and obviously you'll let Dr. Schaefer know, and if we need to do some moving around, I think we can accommodate that. We got a little bit of time, so thanks for bringing that up.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else? Yes,
Oh, I
sir.
guess I could, since this is our inaugural run on Channel 11, should just warn the viewers at home that the meetings generally aren't this short, and just so that they don't get the idea that this is more entertaining than it looks. None.
Thank you for the parting words, Kevin, and I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
All right. And you got the room number?
Like I said, I.
Yeah.
Can we have to get rid of this now?
Thank you.
You're not- I'm sure you've been on that campus. It's not-
Thank you, sir.
Good enough?
Perfect.
Okay, you gotta see how it's.
Yeah, I've been
think
to a
I'm
few
guessing.
meetings there, and
I think I know where it is. But
Conversation.
I go in and go, there's a ramp, go out past the dinosaur and then come back. I'm thinking it's up there, but as soon as I say that. No.
I have not come back.
I've been a few years since
I
I've
want you to
been
use
there.
that comprehensive, it's pretty simple thought process.
Services will be requested.
Well, I tried to get Alex to go with us to the glass castle.
Yeah, we'll see.
Rock Springs, you should
Filled
come.
with a lot of legal jargon.
I like your description.
Yeah,
That's
easy.
Okay, thanks.
They really complain about that.
They do?
The main thing
What?
on it. And I was talking to Larry over at B&B.
I can't imagine sitting in a meeting without you on my.
He said, John, they do regular meetings on the class of the law. Okay, Larry, you go tell the president.
Yeah.
I'll give you a few.
Well, we'll probably see on the road tomorrow. Counting our way.
Yeah.